The only lifeline Starmer has here is he is now saying Mandelson lied to me about that. He lied to me about that relationship with Epstein. He lied to me about the stay in the apartment. That's the inference. We don't know that for sure yet. But that is what all that Starmer has got to defend himself is to say, I was misled. Well, was he when it was there in black and white that there was an ongoing relationship? And at the end of the day, exactly as you said at the beginning, Andrew, he put a friend of a paedophile as Britain's man in Washington. That's it. It's that simple.
Let's now speak to Steve Swinford, our political editor of The Times. He's naturally in Westminster on a day like today. Stephen, there was a lot of concentration by the Prime Minister on process, and I thought he sounded more shaky than usual.
He's got a massive problem. This is a huge question about his judgment. And I think what was very clear is he made very, very poor judgment in appointing Lord Mandelson in the process. That is undeniable. And I think he's in a fight potentially for his political life here, because he has admitted there at the dispatch box that he appointed Mandelson as the ambassador despite knowing that he had an ongoing friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. And we know that because there was also articles that were written about it at the time. There are articles about Mandelson staying in his New York apartment. He was asked about it at a press conference at one point. So he was fully aware of this friendship, and yet he appointed him. And that is a really big issue here for Labour MPs and for the broader body politic. And I think he's in a lot of trouble this afternoon, Andrew.
No, I agree with you. I think he is in a lot of trouble, and I think that showed in his performance, which was below par today. So the spotlight on the Commons in Westminster now turns to the vetting process. Stephen, how is that going to pan out this afternoon?
So it was a two-stage vetting process. That's the first thing you need to know about it. So the first one was the Cabinet Office has a department which is called the Propriety and Ethics part of it, and that is one of the kind of most sensitive areas of government. They would have done something quite simple. They would have done what we would have done, which is they'd have put together some newspaper reports, some cuttings. They'd have put together what was known, and they would have shared that with the Prime Minister and others. So they would have been fully aware of Mandelson's relationship with Epstein and ongoing friendship. There is then a separate process, which is a much deeper process, which is about vetting, and that's a security process. And that exists, if you like, in a sealed box. Starmer won't know the outcome of that. We will never know fully the outcome of that. But that is supposed to look at whether individuals pose a national security risk. It's called developed vetting. It also could look at, let's say, any relationships they have, sexual interests. It's basically looking for anything that could compromise them in an official role. So, you know, they're not susceptible to, I don't know, Russian spies, honey traps, whatever it may be. So that, I don't think will ever see the light of day, but what it looks like we might get published today is the Cabinet Office's look at Mandelson and look at his links, and that is going to be a problem for Starmer because we already kind of know what it says. It will say there was an ongoing friendship. It will raise questions around that, and the only lifeline Starmer has here is he is now saying Mandelson lied to me about that. He lied to me about that relationship with Epstein. He lied to me about the stay in the apartment. That's the inference. We don't know that for sure yet, but that is what all that Starmer has got to defend himself is to say, I was misled. Well, was he when it was there in black and white that there was an ongoing relationship? And at the end of the day, exactly as you said at the beginning, Andrew, he put a friend of a paedophile as Britain's man in Washington. That's it. It's that simple.
It is that. So when he says that Mandelson lied to him, then he should maybe have been more toughly cross-examined. But also then that implies, well, you appointed a man who's a congenital liar to be our ambassador in Washington. How does that look on your judgment? Tell me this, Steve. Do they, as people dig in and want to get more on how the vetting process panned out, is there some suspicion that the fingerprints of Morgan McSweeney, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, will be all over it?
I think his fingerprints are all over it. So our understanding is that Keir Starmer asked, I think, 3 questions of Mandelson, which were submitted in an email by Morgan McSweeney to Mandelson. And one of those was this question of whether he stayed in a New York apartment in 2009 when Epstein was in jail. In fact, what we've discovered since is Mandelson didn't just stay in the New York apartment. We can see that from the emails. There's a whole conversation about it, and Mandelson says it's fine. You might want to stay in an apartment because there's a lot of heat on me. And Mandelson replies to that and says, well, I'd rather stay at your place because it's got better facilities. So we know that happened. We also know that he stayed at his place in Paris. We also know
we've seen
that
the
he
pictures
stayed
of that.
Yeah, and that there is correspondence about that. So oddly, I think we at this stage actually have a far more advanced knowledge of that relationship than the vetting procedure will have had. But this stuff was being reported at the time.
That's
the Financial
the
Times report on it, and that's the crux of the matter. So yes, Morgan McSweeney is obviously culpable here, and he had a clear friendship in Mandelson, and he pushed for his appointment. Starmer didn't actually like Mandelson. That they didn't really have a relationship. He was suspicious of him, and he wasn't part of that kind of Blair Brown firmament. He is uniquely apolitical in many ways, Keir Starmer, and wasn't part of that scene, so didn't know Mandelson or trust him. But nonetheless, on McSweeney's kind of energetic persuasion, decided he was the man for the job over, interestingly, George Osborne, who was the other runner for that job.
Which was interesting, yeah. He'd have been
and
wiser
again
to
another
put George in, I would think, in retrospect.
Possibly. I mean, George may have other political
He's got a lot
persuasions
of
which
jobs.
could make that difficult. Yeah, he's got a lot of jobs. But either way, you can see what he was trying to do with them.
Now, Keir Starmer's popularity has been slipping quite dramatically on the Labour backbenches, in the Labour Party as a whole, for quite some time now. What is the Mandelson scandal doing to it? That must surely be making it even worse.
I can tell you it's not helping, and it's not helping right now. So the Tories are using this mechanism, which is an archaic mechanism called a humble address, to extract this information out of the government. And the government is trying to put some exemptions in. It says there should be exemptions on the basis of national security and if it potentially damages international relations. Those are the two it's going for. And I'm telling you at the moment, Labour MPs don't seem to be swallowing it.
Wow.
They are not satisfied with the amendment. So the government could end up having to concede even on that. So it's already conceded to the principle, yes, we will put information out in the public domain about the vetting process, but it may now lose the battle with its own MPs on these amendments, which were in the name of Darren Jones, his chief of staff. So they go right to the top of the government. And what that tells you is there is a level of anger on those backbenches about Mandelson's appointment and Starmer's judgment in appointing him in the first place. This week has been utterly surreal, Andrew. I flew back with the Prime Minister from Japan on Saturday night, and on the plane I asked him about Andrew and I asked him about Mandelson, and he went for Andrew, and he said he should give evidence, he's letting down victims if he doesn't. I asked him about Mandelson. He said, I've got nothing more to say on that. And that was the line for a full 24 hours over the weekend, until I think Backbench has made clear he needed something to say on it, and we are now in the state where he is basically throwing all of the powers of his office at Mandelson. He said it in Cabinet, he's using PMQ's dispatch box, he suggested there was criminality to the police. Starmer is doing everything that he can to bury Peter Mandelson, to effectively kill Mandelson politically, and that is because he's fighting for his own political survival.
He is indeed. These are amazing developments. It's going to be a pretty dramatic afternoon in Westminster by all accounts, Stephen, so I thank you for taking time out of what's a busy day to come and talk to us on Times Radio. Stephen Swinford there, live from Westminster.